Today on the BCP Show, we talk with Gary Stevenson. Running a successful blue-collar proud business is all about managing and investing in the important relationships with your employees, your suppliers, vendors, clients, even yourself. Gary says this is what leadership is all about to him. All that and much more coming up. You're listening to the Blue Collar Proud Show, and you, my friends, are in Proud Nation.
It's the Blue Collar Proud Show, the show for business owners who are building businesses they can be proud of. Because having a strong business means a better life for you and your community. That's what it means to be blue collar proud. And now, here's your hosts, Carter Harkins and Taylor Hill.
Welcome back to another episode of the BCP Show, the Blue Collar Proud Show, the show all about having and living the blue collar business dream. This show exists for one reason, and that's because the world needs you to be strong. The world needs you to build a kick-ass business that you love so that you can turn around and help your communities become better places to live. Wherever you are in the world, that's what the world needs from you. Blue Collar Proud is all about growing that kind of business. My name is Carter Harkins. With me every single week is Taylor Hill. Hey, man.
Man, I thought you were going to just break out in song there in the beginning.
Start preaching.
Starting this. Ow!
Oh, yeah, that. I always wanted to do that.
Well, you did. Now you've done it. Now you can say I've done it, and maybe I'll do it again.
So this is going to be a good episode, talking with Gary Stevenson, and who is Hope Stevenson's husband.
Yes.
Hope's a regular on the show. She does the Front Lines Report with us. She's been a guest several times. But to get to talk to Gary, who's also a great guy, it's going to be a good episode. Let me run through a couple of announcements real quick.
Sure.
I want to just say, again, remind people that our book is out.
Yay.
Blue Collar Proud. 10 principles for building a business, a kick-ass business that you love. No, 10 principles for building a kick-ass business you love.
Yes.
That's it, right?
That's it.
Gosh, why can't I get that in my head?
I don't know. I mean, you say it long enough, you'll get it.
Yeah.
And then I'll just ask you, what is it? What's that title again?
I'm going to kick it to you.
I count on you.
So
10 principles for building a kick-ass business you love.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
So there's 10 chapters in there. Every single chapter is, actually there's more than that, but the 10 main chapters of the book are all about specific things. Each chapter breaks down one principle that we believe is essential to growing a blue-collar proud business. You know, in times past, we talk about the history in the book a little bit, about the term blue-collar, where it comes from, how originally it wasn't what it's become, but what it has become devalues blue-collar workers in a way that we think we definitely believe needs to be changed. And that's a large part of the reason that we wrote this book.
Yes.
It's all about growing a business you can be proud of. And it's a short read, but it's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, and we did that intentionally. I mean, I don't have time to read a 300-page book. No. I want people to get to the point. I mean, it's just like, if I'm going to write a book, I want to write a book I would read. Yeah. Sure. So get to the point, say what you want to say, give me some examples, and move on to the next point. So that's what we did.
So check it out. It's on Amazon.com. Even as we speak, you can find both the paperback and the Kindle version. Just do a search for Blue Collar Proud right there on Amazon. And you can also get a free chapter of the book. Just head over to bcpshow.com/book. Right there on that page, you can enter your email address and we'll send you a free chapter plus the introduction of the book. That'll give you a taste for what it's about. You can decide if you want to buy it after that. I want to just say that we are going to be at the Mid-States HPBA association meeting. They're actually calling it the Burn and Learn 2017. It's going to be May 22nd and 23rd up in Sandusky, Ohio, up on the lake.
I know. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I love all the hearth people and the chimney guys.
Great industries for sure. Yeah. We're looking forward to being there. We're going to be talking about how to compete online. It's going to be an interesting conversation. So if you're planning on being in the Mid-States HPBA Burn and Learn 2017, even if you're not, but you are in those industries, the hearth and hearth patio barbecue and chimney industries, then head up there and love to meet you and talk to you and share a little bit about what we're doing. We're actually doing two sessions, 2 90-minute sessions, but I'm not sure what the second one's going to be yet.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be good, whatever it is.
Yeah.
We'll come up with something good.
Absolutely. 2 more announcements. We still have a survey on our website. Would love for you to go take that survey, provide some anonymous information about you and your business and your listening habits in terms of podcasts. That way we get a better snapshot of blue-collar audience members and find out how we can tailor and craft this message even more for you in the podcast that we do every single week for you. We want to make sure that the content here is hitting home with you. So if you help us out by filling out that survey, it would be much appreciated. Also reviews. And now there's even more places to leave reviews because we've got a book on Amazon. So if you've read the book and you enjoyed it, then leave us a review on Amazon.com for the book. You can also leave us a review about the BCP Show. Do that in iTunes. That's where we would like for you to leave a review, because leaving a review in iTunes definitely helps us reach more people, more blue-collar business owners with the message of the show to help them grow the business that they really want to grow in their dreams. And so that's it. The 2 places you can leave reviews. I think that's all the announcements I've got. Let's go to the front lines.
Okay.
We take you now to the front lines and the ongoing battles of blue-collar business. Reporting from the trenches are the blue-collar proud advisors, coaches, and mentors leading the charge. Today's report comes from Kenny Chapman with the Blue Collar Success Group. It's good to have you with us, Kenny. What are you seeing out there?
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. One of the things that I'm seeing that is really blocking growth, movement, progress, anything that we're trying to drive forward is this whole thing of perfection, right? So we're taught that, you have to get everything right. And to win in school, we were taught you had to get A's, and A's meant that you got all the answers right and whatever that looked like. And now we get into business and we're dealing with people, we're dealing with homeowners, we're dealing with clients, we're dealing with team, we're dealing with vendors and partners and all these types of things that happen. And I see my clients that grow the most have a mindset of good enough. And it sounds so wrong and it sounds so against the grain, but sometimes things are good enough. And the reality is, probably things aren't ever going to be perfect anyway. So perfection is a perception that we hold. But as leaders, I'm going to get I can't roll out my new pricing until all of my prices are exactly right, or I have everything down to the nth degree, or my trucks have the exact right logo or the wrap, or my uniforms are exactly this, or my team is exactly that, and you're not going to go anywhere. So, one of my mentors, Dan Sullivan, runs a company called The Strategic Coach. Huge fan of Dan's and the work that they do. And Dan wrote a little book called The 80% Approach. And I would recommend to all of our listeners to check out a little copy of that. It's a pretty simple read. And it's so counterintuitive, because basically Dan's talking about the fact when something is 80% ready, launch it and do it and move forward with it. And you're going to figure out the other 20. But we think, oh my gosh, my competition has it nailed. Look at how perfect they are. Look at all these things. No, the reality is they don't know any more than you do, and they're trying to figure it out regardless. And so get something close enough and then launch. And even as I say it out loud, it challenges my head, because it's like, well, why, I'm not aiming for the curb here. Like, what's the deal? I want things to be right. I want things to be great. But the reality is they don't become great until they're in the marketplace, until you're working, until you hire that team member, until you take a stretch and get out of your comfort zone. And all that is going to happen without perfection.
Yeah, one of the great sayings, and I wish I knew where it came from, but perfectionism simply is paralysis.
Yeah.
And it's just every time I see it in people, I see it in businesses, I see it in teams. It's unbelievable. The other thing that I want you to address that I think a lot of people don't understand that really is perfectionism is this idea that individually you have to be perfect within a company. So I've also seen that individuals in a company kind of get paralysis in their own, and they get in their own way by thinking they have to be perfect, so they don't participate. They don't, do some of the other things they can because they're afraid of not being right. So talk about that in relation to teams, to if people are dealing with that as leaders with some of their team members having those types of issues.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that we drive that as leaders a lot, right? So we set parameters, we set scorecards, we set, the things that we want our team to be. And if they're not, living up to what we think is perfectionism, then sometimes we can drive squashing them as well. That being said, what we need to also remember is that, I believe that we're all kind of the whole, we're all perfectly imperfect kind of a thing. And team members that try to get in there and be perfect. I'll take Robin. I got a business partner that runs my plumbing heating company, the day-to-day operations, and she's been with me for 13 years now. And when we hired Robin, I hired her because I trusted her, and she was a great bookkeeper, and I knew her because I played a lot of softball with her son or her husband, and so we had this connection, right? So I'm going to have somebody watching my dough. I got to have somebody I can trust watching it, and we literally hired her, and we locked her in the back office of the place and went, she's going to watch the money, but she's never going to lead people because she does not communicate very well, and she's this and this and this. And then she began doing some work on herself, and we actually have a life coach that we hire. It sounds like, we've talked before about soft skills, but we literally give our team members an opportunity to work with a life coach that has completely helped me change my life. And she started doing this work, and now literally she owns part of our company, and she handles the day-to-day, and she's running the guys in the field, and she's doing this and that. And is she perfect? No. Is everything happen exactly the way we want it to? No, not at all. But she could also still be just locked in that back corner office in the dark, punching numbers and whatever. But I don't believe that's where growth comes from. I don't believe that not getting out of our comfort zone and stepping out to something that we might not be comfortable with or 100% ready to do, that's where life happens, right? That's what it's all about. So I think we need to stop, one, holding ourselves to an unrealistic expectation, because when we're doing that, whether we're hitting it or not, sometimes we hold our team to an unrealistic expectation.
Very good.
I think that's true. I think, you can't lead other people and expect perfection. The moment a human being becomes involved in the process, it gets messy, and it is imperfect, but what you look for is progress. What you look for is growth. Exactly. And that has to happen when you just give somebody the ability to fail, the ability to grow in the role and become what you need them to be.
Absolutely. Love it.
Good stuff. Hey, Kenny, I know people are going to want to check in with you, connect with you. Where can they do that online?
Find us at thebluecollarsuccessgroup.com. Thebluecollarsuccessgroup.com. We have a lot of free downloads and some business building and life building tools that you can jump to and get started right away.
Good stuff. We'll talk to you again soon, sir.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
You've got questions, we've got answers. And this time we've got an article about questions. This is actually a really good article, Taylor. I
liked it.
Yeah, thanks for sending it. It's from an interesting blog I'd never heard of before. I like the name of it. It's Leadership Freak. That's the blog. And this is just a short little article that was published a few weeks ago called Misguided Questions Kill Businesses. And I think... let's jump in. Basically, the premise of the book or of the article is, questions are good, but most of the time you're just asking lazy questions, misguided questions. I would say lazy questions, but and the answers that you get don't lead anywhere good, and it's actually killing your business. I mean, it's doing damage to your business because you're not asking the right questions. So tell me a little bit about what this article was for you. What was the reason?
Well, one of the things that, of course, I always talk about finances and what, if you don't really get in tuned with your numbers, it causes a lot of problems. I mean, can cause havoc and really can kill your business. So when I was reading this, it struck me that I've seen so many people and heard so many people, and actually have worked for some pretty large companies that do the same thing, and they scramble after they find out what I'm doing air quotes here, truth is, because they didn't dig enough into the questions. If let me just give you an example. So let's just say you want to buy uniforms for somebody, and so you go out and you order uniforms for your entire team, and you spend $1,500 on uniforms. And then you want to go buy some tools, and so you go buy some tools, you spend $2,500 on tools. And then all of a sudden, your accountant, your bookkeeper, your wife, whoever is taking care of the bank says, whoa, you got to stop spending money. It's like, what do you mean you got to stop spending money? Why? Well, because we don't have money in the bank. Oh, okay. So you stop spending money for a couple of weeks. And then something comes up, and then you spend another $4,000, $2,000, $1,000, whatever it is. And they come out and said, I told you to stop spending money. Well, that was 3-4 weeks ago. Surely we have money now. No, we don't have money coming in. All of a sudden,
or the money that's coming in
is already dog-eared and spending on other stuff. It's allocated.
Yeah.
So you're saying, well, why? Well, we don't have the money right now. And then you're making assumptions of when you have the money. And I've seen this happen. I've had it happen to me. It was how you learn the hard way the first time.
Sure.
And you think, oh, we'll get it. It'll be there. I know that this time of year it's going to be there. But you forget, and we forget where things are. I mean, we misplace keys, we misplace thoughts, we misplace expenses, we misplace them.
Yeah.
That's why you have to go back to your numbers. That's why you really have to dig. But it's not just in the numbers.
No.
It's in communication.
Absolutely.
I mean, as you look at this, if you've got somebody that is habitually late, okay, and you go, well, why are you late? And they tell you why they're late, and you go, okay.
Yeah.
And they're still just late all the time.
So that's the point of the article is
what did it solve?
Asking the question why or why not, oftentimes all it does is trigger somebody's defense and their ability to rationalize their behavior. And if you just stop right there, then all you've gotten is a rationalization for what they've done, and you really haven't solved the problem.
Right.
You've just received somebody's justification for something.
Yeah.
And so, the article doesn't say this, but what do you think about the idea of going deeper with the why questions? I mean, you've heard of I'm a big question asker, and this is actually something I like the idea.
The 5 whys.
5 levels of why.
Yeah.
So you start with why. Somebody gives you their excuse, and then you say why, again, asking, drilling into that excuse a little bit more, which then prompts them to give a little more thorough explanation or to touch a little closer to the real, issue. Asking again, why. And finally, by the time you get to about the 5th level of why, you're finally down to brass tacks. You've stripped away all the pretense of the excuses, and now you're dealing with the real issue.
Right.
What do you think of that?
Well, I like that to a sense. I think sometimes you have to go beyond why. I think sometimes you have to dig, and so because let's just take the being late all the time. If you dig down into the why, and come to find out you have an employee that has a legitimate sleep problem, all right? So now what are you going to do about it?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, if they've got a legitimate medical issue that they struggle with getting to sleep or not getting enough sleep or sleep apnea that they've, untreatable. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out here, but I'm just saying if you've got something that is serious and is a reason why they can't seem to get to work on time, do you excuse that person when everybody else has to be there on time? Do you excuse that person from being late to all the meetings? Do you excuse that? You see where I'm going here? I mean, and that's a legitimate reason. Do you announce to your team, hey, this guy has a legitimate medical issue here. You see him late. We're gonna give him a break. I mean, what do you do there? Can you talk to him about shifting his hours maybe? and give him some different. You see what I'm saying? So when you get down to the nitty gritty of it, then a lot of people don't want to tell you really why.
Sure.
You know, they don't.
Well, it's justification, right? I mean, it's.
Yeah.
If I told you really why. First of all, we protect ourselves from the truth.
Sure.
A lot of times, which is why asking those deeper levels of why finally starts to get down and penetrate through that protection.
Or get to a place where you ask all those levels and then tell them, I want to see a doctor's excuse, you know, and then watch their eyes get really wide and they go, oh yeah, you know, okay. You know, so, but to me, this is really more about your business. And one employee is not going to kill your business. So to me, it's more introspective.
Yeah.
I think I said that right.
Well, asking different questions to see if you get different answers.
Sure.
You know, we get stuck in ruts, and a lot of times the questions that we ask are just, they're guaranteed to lead us to the same conclusions every time. So he talks about, he gives 3 examples of different questions that you can ask instead of just why. The first one is, can you describe the problem to me? It's more precise. It's kind of a form of what's going on here. You know, can you describe this problem to me? Helps people step away from it. Now I don't assume that the reason you're asking me why I did something is because I'm the problem. Now I can be more objective, and we can talk about the problem as though it's not me, it's this thing that we're dealing with. And now I can be more objective. By being more objective, oftentimes we can get to different.
But I think it's important for owners to be objective. So if I've got a problem with something in our business, if I just say why, I do the same thing as anybody else does. I'm going to make an excuse. Right. But if I say, okay, how would I describe this problem to someone else? And step back and actually physically write down the description. This is what I see this problem is. Now I'm stepping away and there is no judgment there. Right. It's just a description.
A bunch of people trying to solve
problems. Now you're solving problems.
Right.
And so that's what you want to do in your business.
Yeah. So another question is, what have you learned about the problem? So he says it primes your team to investigate the problem, to go deeper, learn the failure pattern rather than just guessing at it. Right? What have we really learned here about this problem? What are we seeing, you know, as being the underneath issues that cause this problem to continue? And then the last one is, what would it take to make it happen? I love this question. I use this question a lot with my son. You know, I'll tell him that we're going to do something. He's like, no, Dad, we can't do that. I'm like, why? You know, I mean, that's the first question is always why. He's like, well, because of this. And then I'll say, well, what would it take to actually do that? I mean, you're saying it can't be done, but I'm just wondering, what would it take to actually do it? And now it gets him to reorient. He's coming around the table on my side. Instead of pushing back against me, he's coming around to my side of it and going, well, this is what I imagine we would need to do if we were actually going to make that happen. And now he's telling me what it's going to take to do what I've just asked him to do. And the next thing you know, he's reoriented his brain. He's thinking about the problem the way I'm thinking about the problem. And he's going and doing exactly what he just told me 5 seconds ago he couldn't do.
Which is kind of what I do when you go, I have an idea.
Oh, I do it with you too.
Carter, what would it take to create that idea?
Yeah, right. Or when you push back and go, that's impossible because of this, and this, I'll say, well, what would it take?
I sit there going, I'm
I
laughing.
agree. I think it's impossible where we are, but what would it take to go beyond that and actually do it? And then the bigger question is it worth doing?
Yeah, that's the biggie.
Because if it's worth doing, we're going to figure out what we got to do to make it happen. Yeah.
And then that catapults your business.
Right.
Which is great.
Leapfrog sometimes.
Which is really, really good. Yeah. But I do think just the surface questions, we are human beings and we don't like to dig below the surface. And our culture keeps us on this really superficial level. You know, my mom used to say something that was really interesting. She would say, when you talk to someone, determine what kind of a friend they are. And it was like, what are you talking about? It says, well, there's 4 levels of friendship. And it's the same deal with businesses. There's like 4 levels of business relationships. You have the surface level. You have the acquaintance level. Okay. You've got the good buddy level. And then you've got the when somebody dies level.
The real committed.
The real committed, levels. So you've got those 4 levels in all relationships, whether they're friendships or, or business relationships. And so a lot of times I think people internally don't realize that they stay so much on the superficial level that they don't even dig into their own levels and really figure out what's going on.
Well,
So I think it's important to do that.
it's like, when was the last time you were looking for your keys? You misplaced your keys. You're looking all over the house for them, and you find them, but you keep looking. That didn't make any sense,
Doesn't
right?
make any sense,
Once you
yeah.
find what it is you're looking for, you move on.
Right.
Well, when you ask a question and you get an answer, it doesn't matter to your brain if it's a good answer or not. It's just an answer, so you stop looking.
Yeah.
You don't look any further.
Right.
So asking better questions becomes essential to getting better answers, and intentionally keeping looking, right? Going beyond the first answer to continue looking for things that move it forward. It takes work. Our brains are lazy. We just look for the first answer and then we're done. We stop
Sure.
looking. But we need to push through sometimes and ask better questions.
And it requires a lot of times us digging into those levels within ourselves that we don't always go.
Yeah. And knowing who we're asking the question of. If this is
yeah.
a surfacey person on a relationship level, there's probably not much need to drill eight levels deep. But if this is a commitment relationship, this is a partner in my business or an employee who is a key person that we need to just have the difficult conversations and ask the difficult questions, then I'm going to push through. I'm going to keep asking until we get to better stuff.
And a lot of times people don't want to ask the questions because they don't want to have the difficult conversations. So
That's
you have
another episode.
Yeah, so that may be something we talk about later about why you should have those difficult conversations.
Yeah. Well, this is a great article. I appreciate you sharing it.
You bet.
Our guest today is the CEO and one of the owners of Arizona Glass Specialists in Mesa, Arizona. It's a unique industry with large commercial and industrial installations as well as the residential side of it. A lot of differences between those. There's the contractor relationships, but there's also the consumer service aspect as well. But our guest is leading the way in all of these areas, as well as innovation in other areas, and he's here to talk shop with us. So, Proud Nation, please welcome to the show, Gary Stevenson. Hey, Gary.
Hey, good afternoon. How are you?
Good. I'm glad you're on the show. I think it's going to be an interesting conversation because we've never had anybody from the glass industry on to talk about what that's like. So, tell us how you got into business. Give us a little bit of background for you.
Well, I mean, I really cut my teeth from the ground up in the glass business. I transferred out to Arizona with the EDS, which was Ross Perot's company, Electronics Data System. I basically worked in sales and acquisitions with the company, and Hope and I were living in Campo, Pennsylvania, where Hope was in college. We transferred to Phoenix with my job and worked with EDS for a little while there. Happened to meet a friend who was just getting in the auto glass business. He had offered me a position within his company, which, I took a sabbatical from EDS to help him start the company from the ground up. And we did auto glass sales and installations. So the glass industry for me really came from auto glass. And that was, around 20 years ago. And I learned that industry and worked with his company for about 2 years when I was offered a franchise opportunity to be a franchise licensee of the auto glass company that he was running.
Gotcha. So are you still doing some auto glass too?
No, not at all. It's an industry that changed dramatically when the insurance companies really kind of dictated down to the shops what rates they were willing to pay for your work. And we decided at that time to kind of make a move and look towards, initially it was residential, and then we broadened out into commercial, which I partnered up with an auto glass company that had been in the business for several years, and the gentleman who was running the operations for the owner, him and I decided that we would, form a company. We bought the initial owner out of his company that he worked for, and we went into business together doing auto glass. And And I would say that was in 2004. And then we started venturing into residential glass in 2006. And by 2007, we had dropped auto glass altogether. And we had basically focused primarily on residential, and were self-teaching the commercial industry to ourselves while we ramped up for, what looked to be a long run of commercial before, late 07, 08, when the bubble kind of burst in the economy.
Tell me how did you make your decision to pivot? Because I know a lot of people, they do it too late. They kind of look in the rearview mirror and think, "Oh, I should have done that then, and now I'm stuck." What did you see that really caused you guys to jump from the auto glass into residential and then into what you're doing now?
Well, the beautiful thing about numbers is they don't lie.
Yes.
And so I basically put pen to paper, or in the modern day world, I broke out an Excel spreadsheet. The insurance companies had just dictated the rate. We had done some installs on a Friday, and for example, it may have been a 2000 Ford F-150 truck. After we purchased the windshield, the urethane kit, and paid for the labor, we billed the insurance company. We may have made $205 for that particular installation. Well, when they changed the rates and the new rates were effective that Monday, we actually had the same install on the same truck, very common vehicle. Well, we were down to making $107. So you could quite see, what the response was. We said, we've got to figure out something different. And they basically have a monopoly on, if you want to be a service provider and on network to bill, you have to accept their rate. So you have no say in the matter. And we knew that we really just could not essentially try to double our efforts in sales and installation and production just to keep up with the downtrend on the revenue that they were, offering us for the workmanship.
Yeah, that's a raw deal.
Yeah.
And we knew we had escalating fuel costs at the time. And as we had employees that were great guys and working with us for a while, they were deservingly of, pay increases as well. So we had escalating operating costs and decreasing revenues, which, again, when we put pen to paper, we said, hey, we've got to do something, because it's not a sustainable, industry that we see, which we're currently running for a long time. We're doing 120 windshields a week, and to basically maintain, we're going to have to do, almost 205 windshields a week.
Yeah, and I'm really glad you said that. There's so many people that do not really pay attention to the numbers, and they don't see, where they've been, and they don't understand that you got to know that in order to calculate where you're going. So that's great. So now you're in residential glass. Tell us what happened from there.
Well, again, it was a good time because the real estate industry was booming here in Arizona. A lot of people were flipping homes and wanted to put windows in, remodeling homes and custom showers. So, we were doing well. It enabled us to, at least for 6 months, to muster up some capital to venture out into some commercial, where we had the, ability to, without necessary agreements and the credit lines established with these suppliers to buy product for the commercial world. So we knew we wanted to get in the commercial world, because, hey, if you could bill $400,000 for a commercial job and versus a residential job at $5,000, and you can maintain the same margins, well, why wouldn't you want to bill for higher revenue? So the commercial industry was really our long-term goal, and we knew where we were living in Arizona, there was a lot of room for growth and development in the city, in the suburbs, and the surrounding. And Gilbert was one of the fastest growing municipalities in the country, along with Chandler. So, we kind of stayed on top of the actual growth of the cities and said, hey, we can do this. We just need to learn and learn at a rapid pace.
So talk a little bit about how the commercial side of it, once you got into it, is different. You're dealing with a lot of contractor relationships, I'm guessing, right? So you're not talking to a homeowner. It's not the same conversation. So talk a little bit about that difference.
Oh, absolutely. coming out of the autoglass field, I'll skip back to that. I mean, I learned to sell autoglass with this company in Arizona at car washes and gas stations. So, I knew that, if I could talk to a complete stranger about their autoglass at a facility like that, I could talk to anybody. So dealing with architects and engineers, the general contractors, estimators, wasn't a challenge, I don't believe, because I had, basically cut my teeth at the very bottom end of the spectrum dealing with people. So it came natural, and it was nice because if you learn the product in the industry, they're always looking for good people and good help. So we were able to very quickly align ourselves with general contractors that had a good name in the industry, and everybody was clamoring for work because it was just a boom in the building industry, and it enabled us to at least have some doors open to us that may have not have been there in the traditional non-booming market, because they needed somebody to perform the work, and they gave us, our first opportunity. We would walk in with hat in hand, present ourselves, and quite frankly, just ask them for the business. If they liked us personally and we established a personal relationship right away, they would at least give us the ability to maybe sharpen our pencils on a number if they wanted to give us the opportunity. So we very fortunate early going that getting into the commercial field, they really needed more and more subcontractors because everybody was topped out.
So when you deal with a contractor, do they give you referrals to the next contractor and to the next?
No, everything is pretty much hard bid. They send us an invitation to bid, or we use the Dodge network where we see the projects that are on there, and we reach out to the general contractors to bid prospective work. But we've worked with, in this day and age, many contractors. So we have a network that constantly asks us to bid work that they are chasing, or work that they've already been awarded from the developer owner. And it enables us to figure our cost and our markup and present them with a bid package and ask them, hey, we performed well on you in this past job, and we'd like to continue with that. And if you guys are amenable to it, if my number is not exactly where you need it to be and you want to work with us, give me a call and we'll see if we can work it out and get to the, we might be in the right church, we might not be in the right pew, but we'll get in that right pew for you.
It really is more about relationships, right? I mean, the subs are getting, it's it's who on these bigger jobs, right?
It is. And, when you do get an opportunity, it's about finishing strong and the quality of your work.
Absolutely.
And that, you can establish a relationship, but, they remember the very last thing, which is how you finish for them. So, I mean, relationships can be, tarnished a little bit if you're not performing either. And they remember that because they're on their line and they have bosses to answer to it. And they want to make sure your product is delivered on time and, delivered under budget or on budget. And you're not having to come forward with change order requests for something you may have missed in a scope in the bid, or maybe a discrepancy in the plans that you didn't do your due diligence and bring up in a form of a RFI, or request for information, ahead of the game versus in the 11th hour when they're unexpecting of it.
Mm. How is it different then from, in your business, do you run them as two separate divisions, residential and commercial, with totally different salespeople, totally different installation crews? Talk about the logistics, the operations, if you will.
Well, so the residential division, we actually call it the SLC, for service light commercial. And I'd say primarily it exists today to service our general contractors and customers that may be remodeling their own home. They need a shower, a mirror, and we're there for them. But that particular division, we don't proactively advertise, and we're not out on the internet looking to bring in residential work. We try to bill for higher revenue work. But again, the general contractor, and a lot of them do their own, work at home and are constantly remodeling, or flipping homes themselves. We'll do that work for them. But that division really is there to go out and do punch list items for commercial jobs, or If we put a job in a year ago and somebody broke the door closer, they're going to go out and replace the door closer and service the general contractor. And they'll do small jobs, and we say small on the commercial side, maybe under $50,000 if it's a Taco Bell, and they're not doing the large 4 or 5 story medical buildings that our commercial side does. So we do look at it as separate divisions. They're coded completely separate in our accounting system and QuickBooks as separate divisions, along with we did branch 2 years ago into an architectural metal division where we also do ACM or aluminum composite material panels, standing seam wall panels, aluminum sunshades, stuff of that nature.
And you're fabricating that there on site, right?
We are, yeah. We'll buy the raw material from the manufacturer, and we opened up our own fabrication facility that's right around 6,000 square feet. And, we will definitely fabricate it here on site and deliver it to the job site. It's a lean principle that we use. We can control the environment in the fabrication shop, eliminate waste, cut cost, and deliver the product to the field on time and get it there so that our installers are waiting for it. And usually the glass is waiting for us because with our computer systems and software that we use, it enables us on the commercial glass side the ability to plug in the measurements, and it will give us the glass order, and we can order the glass and stay ahead of the 4 or 5 week lead time and have it delivered to the site. So when we bring the aluminum frames to the site, the glass is waiting for us, versus a lot of our competitors still do this in the old way, is install the metal in the field, cut it in the field, pull your glass measurements with a tape measure, write them down and order them, and then wait 4 or 5 weeks for your glass to get there. And since we've reinvested back into the company in the software and the automated fabrication equipment, it's increased our capacity to take on more work and reach out and grow, and expand in relationships to general contractors that we had never worked with before, enabling us to continue to drive up our average job revenue. So, we do jobs over $1 million. The first 4 or 5 years, the largest job we had was $300,000.
Mm-hmm.
But with that type of equipment, it's enabled us to, again, bring in larger work and being able to stay ahead of it and get it out to the field and do it very exponentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
With all that said, and I know that's come about because of technology. Tell us kind of where your thought process when you were doing it the old way, what kind of enabled you to move forward on technology? Because we do have listeners out there that get stuck with trying to figure out, what do I do? Which direction do I go? What program do I use? The softwares, everything. So can you just give us kind of some insight on your thought process when you went into purchasing technology for what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. I knew that I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. Somebody was already doing it somewhere in the country. So we went to the glass trade show in Las Vegas and met with a couple of the software company providers and really narrowed it down to 3. And we took our time and in 6 months narrowed it down to the final one that we thought would serve us best. This wasn't just a decision from myself and my business partner. We met with our general manager. We met with the project managers who were going to be using it day to day, got their input, got their questions, and took them back to the manufacturers. It enabled us to create a team environment where everybody had ownership in it. So they were proud of it when we got it, and we started utilizing and implementing the software and the automated equipment. That's really the thing. It's you can act like a dictator and just say, I'm going to do this and this is how it's going to be, but you're going to get short-term results. But if you involve your team and you get them integrated into that decision-making process and they feel ownership of it, they'll make sure it's successful, because by all means, I don't have to run it every day. They do. And I just want it to be a good match in a system where if we do add new employees, they can come in and learn it very easily because there's multiple people who know it and can go to them. But really just keeping it simple and not having to do all the research ourselves, just going to the trade show and really taking that first step forward by by finding the manufacturers there versus just trying to Google and look online and being bombarded with ads for companies who may spend a lot in advertisement, but not a lot in their actual equipment, and you never know what you're going to get. You make a great advertisement, but not a great product. But seeing it working firsthand is the best way to go, because you're making a large investment, not only in the capital, but in your people's time too. So it's worth the trip to the trade show to do your firsthand investigations into what you're looking at.
Oh, you bet.
In your industry.
Yeah, the wrong decision at that level is much more costly than just simply the cost of the software. It's the downtime, the implementation, the struggles to, nobody knows what we're doing, how we're getting it done. Nobody trusts the system. That can be a nightmare.
Yeah, and it's hard, because if you establish that pattern, then they may have a preconceived notion. Everything you bring to the table, could be automatically looked in a bad light, because they had a bad experience with the first mistake you made. So at all costs, we try to avoid going down that road and staying away from making the wrong decision. And it can happen in business, but I think that, by asking your employees, and I try to hire people smarter than me. I don't want my company to be capped out at my intelligence level. So I like to hire people that can get in here and really just be set free to do what they do best. And I don't have to be the smartest guy in the room, but I do have to be the best leader in the room. And I think our people respect that, and we let them use their intelligence and don't cap them. And we definitely do a good job of respecting all of their comments or concerns and feedback that they can give us, because ultimately they're only giving us that information because they want the company to succeed and continue to grow, because it benefits everybody in the long run.
Well, that's awesome. Let's talk about leadership for a minute, because I know when you started the business, obviously, from the ground up, you're making your first hires. And how many people do you have working with you now?
54.
Okay, so you've learned some leadership lessons. I know that without even having to ask. I want to know what they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Patience is probably the best one that sets in my mind. You just have to be patient and allow people to grow and make mistakes, and understand that it takes some people a very short amount of time to learn something, and other people a little bit longer. But if you thought that they were worth hiring in the first place, and they had the right morals and character, and you brought them aboard, because that's what we seek out first, and we'll teach them our industry if they don't know it. We hire for the person first. Then you let them go, and you let them continue to grow and do what they do for your company. They're going to be very loyal.
Absolutely.
So it comes with patience.
Yeah. We've made some dire mistakes and learned some lessons, and that's a big one. Hiring people smarter than you, and let them be smarter. Yeah. It is okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you think Bill Gates is the smartest person at Microsoft?
No,
absolutely not. And we know that, and we're fine. I mean, we're tasked with leading the company and making sure that everybody has jobs, and continuing to push the company forward in a direction where people can identify which direction we're all going, and that the leadership is there not only for the betterment of the company, but for them as people too. I mean, I think that my leadership style, tends to be very emotionally driven with people, in the aspect that I care a lot about people. And if our people feel that, and they know that no matter what comes up, they can bring it to us, and that we care about them first, and the situation will be second, and we'll deal with whatever the good, the bad, or the ugly is. Because guess what? you might not even remember that in 3 weeks. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to remember. They'll never forget how you made them feel. So, I tend to always let them know that they matter first, and let's talk about you, and then let's talk about what we have to address with the business or the work or the situation or the loss of the material, because it's business, and one thing is constant, it's change, and some of the changes are going to be mistakes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think you sometimes have to allow people to fail for them to succeed.
Yeah, I mean, and if they don't get it and they continue to fail, then you have a decision to make. If you've done everything you can, and we've been fortunate. That's a very, very few occasions in between, and it happens sometimes in the installation field. And fortunately, I think sometimes personal lives can seep into that, what they have going on at home. But if they continue to make mistakes and they can't make changes, I think also as a leader, you owe the responsibility to all the other employees in the company that you have to just let them go.
Yeah.
It has to be done. It's nothing we like to talk about. Again, we've been fortunate. It's far and few between, but hey, any company, it happens. It's just part of, being in business.
Now, you happen to be married to one of our favorite people here on the Blue Collar Proud Show, Hope Stevenson. And she was just recently on, and she's great. And I know she's a part of the company. So talk a little bit about working with your spouse. I mean, I'm not putting you on the spot to out, Hope or anything, but I know that family dynamics in business is tough. And, I am curious.
Yeah.
I want to know how you navigate that.
It is. I mean, it's day to day. And I think that's my weakness because, I'm so black and white sometimes, and it's tough. The fact that is, I'll be very poignant about something because I'm looking at the numbers or I'm looking at the situation, and I think I could be a little bit more lighthearted because she's my wife, and so you get some of that, and that comes from me. And there's times that it's great. We're able to sit and look at things and make decisions together, and we have great outcomes. And it's what life's about. It's enjoyable. You're doing something with somebody you love.
Yeah.
But it's a business and it's a marriage, and we take that home sometimes. And sometimes at home, I'm talking about work and she's talking about work, and we're like, hey, can we talk about it tomorrow? Because you got to step away from work sometimes. And just clear your head and be a married couple, and have your life away from work. So, it's that. But I think anybody who's passionate about anything, I know that she definitely is, and I am. If you're passionate, you're going to talk about work outside of work with your spouse if you're both involved in the business, because you're passionate about that work in that company.
Yeah.
But sometimes we do have to look at each other and go, all right, let's not talk about this now. Let's enjoy, we're getting ready to walk into the baseball game. Let's watch baseball. Work is going to be there Monday, So.
Yeah.
So do your kids ever go, okay, guys, give it up?
Well, I don't have children.
You don't have kids. I wasn't sure. I've never asked Hope if she had kids or not. So never had that conversation.
We have 2 dogs, but yeah, we have a lot of children at church and family, friends, and nieces and nephews. So it feels like we have kids because we're always around children.
Yeah.
None of our own to speak of yet.
Gotcha.
Well, I understand that. So the dogs are in the corner shaking their heads going, y'all are at it again. You're talking business again.
Yeah. It's all right. Feed us. All right. They're talking business.
That's
We'll
it.
wait. Right.
Oh man, well, business is definitely a journey, and getting to share that with somebody you love is a pretty cool deal. So, I just always love hearing those kinds of stories. We've got a lot of clients that run family businesses, and more than just a husband and wife, but the kids and uncles and aunts and nieces and nephews. I mean, it's interesting to see those dynamics, but to grow it where you've grown it to that level, and to still be growing and setting your sights for even bigger things is pretty great accomplishment.
Well, thank you. And we're blessed. I mean, it's, yeah, from the humble beginnings to, to today. I mean, we're billing $11 million, and we're blessed. God has blessed us. He's definitely had his hands in our business. We're both very strong Christians, and it's really just a testament of putting our faith into Him, doing the right thing always, and giving back. And we give back in many ways with our church and through charities, and He continues to provide. So it's just part of, in my eyes, being a good leader. For me, it helps because I'm a Christian, and I think that some of the leadership qualities come directly from being a Christian and learning lessons with the Bible and with Christ that allows me to, move forward in business. And it's just a journey that we're on together, Hope and I. So like I said, we've been blessed, but we know it's really not always by our hands either.
Yeah, it's awesome. Doing life together and growing it that way. That's cool. So I want to know, before I let you go, I give people a web address where they can go to find your website.
It's a long one, but we always say, hey, Google Arizona Glass Specialist with an S at the end, plural. It'll pop up, but it's a www.arizonaglassspecialist specialists.com. And like I said, you Google it, it'll come up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of S's in the middle there and S at the end, so sometimes it's hard to get in there if you're typing it directly.
No worries. Awesome. And we'll have that in the show notes as well. So one last question before you go. We always ask our guests for a quote that has meant something to them in their own business journey of success. I want to know what your quote is, Gary, and tell us what it means to you.
Well, I think my favorite one, and I actually have it on my email, is seek to be worth knowing than well known. So, I think, again, just being a person worth knowing is much better than being just a well-known person. And I think that everybody we deal with in business, from our new hire as an installer to the architects to the business owners that we deal with and our suppliers to the residential customer, we try to treat everybody with equal respect and make sure that they understand that they mean something as a person first and then as a customer second.
Oh, that's great.
Very good. That's awesome.
That is how you grow an $11 million business, my friend.
That's it.
Well, I want to thank you, Gary, for being on the show today. And I'd love to check in with you again sometime, just have more conversations like this.
Well, hey, my pleasure. You guys have been great. And again, thank you very much for having me come on. And it has been a real pleasure to speak with you, gentlemen.
Gary Stevenson,
Thanks.
Everybody. Thank you, sir.
Hey, thank you. Have a great night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, that's a heck of a business.
I know. And I got to tell you, dude, I already know my takeaway.
Okay, go ahead.
Because his quote to me was phenomenal. That is a fantastic thing to always remember. It's better to be a person worth knowing than a person well known.
Yeah.
Just love the quote. I mean, everything else was great, but you could tell he embodies that, you know? I mean, I want to go be his friend. That's what this whole thing, I want to be his friend. I love Hope already, and, I just want to be his friend.
Yeah, he's a great guy for sure. All right, here's my takeaway. There's actually several, but it was around hiring people who are smarter than you are, giving them the ability to help you apply their intelligence to power your own business. When they're smarter than you are and they have intelligences and ways of thinking that are better than your ways, give them full reign to make decisions and implement those things. The thing that he said about the software, and choosing the software by getting them bought in, right?
Yeah,
by
very
having
good.
their input,
Yeah.
they're already on board. When you make the decision, you're still the CEO. You're still the guy driving the ship. You pull the trigger, make the decision, but now you got an entire team who's already
Ready
weighed
to go.
in. They're already bought in. They're ready to go and make it their own thing.
And I'll tell you, you and I both know, we have heard so many people have tried this software and that software and this software and that software.
It's a hard decision.
It's a hard decision, but the fact is almost every time it comes from the top down. And the fact that he gets everybody involved to make a group decision because he understands they will be the ones using that software.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Yeah, really powerful.
Yeah.
All right, Proud Nation, the quickest way for you to cement the new ideas that came to you while you listen to this episode, take them out of your brain, make them actionable, make them implementable, is to share those things that you've just learned with other people. And we, all of us, not just me and Taylor, but everybody who listens to this show is waiting to hear what your big takeaway was from this particular episode over in the Blue Collar Proud Nation Facebook group. Don't tell me you're not a member of the group. I don't want to hear it. Go join this group. Do a search on Facebook, Blue Collar Proud Nation, and find the group, ask to join. You'll be let right in, and then find the post for this particular episode. It's the Gary Stevenson episode takeaways post, and in the comments of that post, tell us what your takeaway was. Just add your comments right there. It's a great way just to read what other people got out of it and then add your 2 cents too. And I guarantee you, just by the act of writing it down, it will be something that you will start to implement in your business because it'll be top of mind. When you share it with others, you learn it yourself. So go do that now. And of course, you can always find out about all the other places where you can connect with us by simply going to bcpshow.com/connect. That's it for this episode of the Blue Collar Proud Show. As always, Taylor and I want to thank you for listening. We also want to thank the people that make this show happen every single week. That's Aaron Blaze, our technical director, Jessica Wynn, our show coordinator, Jonathan Sanders and Karen Hatcher, our social media managers. Until next time, remember this. It takes the same energy to build a business you hate as it does to build one that you're proud of. So why not build it the Blue Collar Proud way? We'll see you next time right here on the Blue Collar Proud Show.
The Blue Collar Proud Show is a production of the Blue Collar Proud Network.